This episode brought to you by our patrons. Watch till the end for details. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk FGO Wanted, the show where we let you know if you want to roll that 5-star. Or is it 108 stars? Anyway, today we're going to be talking about the new limited SSR Assassin, Huyan Zhuo. And as per usual, we're going to discuss real-life history and folklore, their special fate lore, their mechanics, and more. Also, this script was written when Hurricane Milton was making up its mind on when to make landfall. The video should still be out in a timely fashion, but if you're curious why I seem, off-kilter, or maybe there are some odd bits in the script, that's why. No preamble, we begin at the beginning. Huyan Zhuo is a character from The Water Margin, one of the four great classics. It is one of the seminal works of Chinese literature. And in fact, Zhuo is one of the 108 heroes, or Stars of Destiny, who are the protagonists of the novel. And you thought your favorite anime or manga had a large cast. In case you aren't familiar with The Water Margin, I'm going to grossly summarize here, because the actual, in-depth plot details are not necessarily important for this, but it is, an important piece of literature. Anyway. The text was written somewhere in the 14th century. It's set during the Northern Song Dynasty, which would be based on the events in the novel around 1120. There's a group of, eventually, 108 outlaws who bound together at Mount Yang. They rebel against the government until eventually they are so heroic and roguish that they are recruited to deal with outside problems by the government. The pipeline of criminal to cop. There's a lot of symbology in the 108, and if you're curious, the 108 is probably one of the reasons why it is such a significant number in East Asian culture. But the simplest form of the origin for why the Water Margin is the way it is that at the time, scholars thought the constellation that is the equivalent of Ursa Major was composed of 36 heavenly stars and 72 earthly stars. So in the Water Margin, there is 108 spirits. They are imprisoned, but then they're freed in the opening parts of the book. And so they are reborn as great heroes. They are ranked 36 heavenly spirits and 72 earthly fiends. This is the translation I got first off Wikipedia. I'm sure there are many other variations, though. And trust me, you'll see in, the graphics I use and in the words I discuss, there's a couple of different ways you can interpret a few of these meanings. Anyway, Huyan Zhuo is ranked number 8 among 108 guys, and is counted among the heavenly spirits, known as the Heavenly Force Star. Also given the nickname Two Clubs, because he wields 2 clubs. Shocking, I know. And eventually, at Mount Yang, he is known as one of the 5 tiger generals who are responsible for cavalry. Yes, Zhuo is a cavalry general. In the story, Huyan Zhuo is said to be the descendant of Huyan Zan, a real general from the early Song Dynasty, who was sometimes also said to wield 2 clubs. I've seen some suggestion in some of the notes that the fictitious Zhuo might be modeled after the real Zan. As far as I can tell, I don't think Huyan Zhuo was a real person, though a number of the Stars of Destiny are actually historical people who become fictionalized. Anyway, Zhuo is originally a general in the Imperial Army, commanding cavalry units, sent to deal with the Mount Yang boys, makes great use of a special formation using armored horses linked by iron chains, and is given a special horse by the Emperor, even. But the Stars of Destiny hole up in a marsh, so you can't use the power of cavalry against them, and eventually loses to the classic tactical rock, paper, scissors when the outlaws train some real good lancers for that anti-cavalry bonus. Specifically, Zhuo loses against a scythe spear, which is just a cute little note. Zhuo has some more adventures after that, after losing and being disgraced, but before being captured by the Liangshan outlaws, because their leader, Song Jian, the leader star, based on another actual historical person, basically works like Big Boss and joins them. A significant number of the Stars of Destiny just get thumped on the head, captured, and then Jiang talks to them, and they're like, okay, I work for you now. It's literally the Big Boss system. You are being Peace Walker to do not resist. Sorry, I just imagine now an alternate retelling of The Water Margin where the 108 Stars of Destiny are the 108 Mercenaries of Destiny. Anyway, Zhuo survives to the ends of the Water Margin and regains position as Imperial General, but is said to eventually have been killed in the campaign against the Jurchen, who would go on to establish the Jin Dynasty. This is relayed in a later novel known as General Yue Fei. And that is about it at a light skim that we can fit into a video that's probably going to be between 15 and 20 minutes long. And yes, that part was a little thin, but we're going to move on to lore, which will actually, back end some stuff that is in the Fate version only. You'll notice a couple of times I said he in that actual history block. Yes, in the water margin, Huyan is said to be male. I think there are a couple of female Stars of Destiny, but it is a little hard to keep track because there are 108 of them. Now, at first, I wanted to say that FGO left this a little open-ended. Descriptions of, the character profile, Zhuo straight up says the water margin basically, only the cool things about me were written in here. But there is dialogue with Yang King, who is also a Star of Destiny, that Zhuo wasn't always a woman, so it is a flip, but they could have played the just history got it wrong card. And this seems to be because the intention is that, like Yang King, Huyan is a Phantom Spirit fusion, but you weren't expecting a Shinjuku callback in 2024. So we do know, and it's not well hidden because of NP names, that the other entity that Zhuo is fused with is Empusa, a shape-shifting female monster of Greek mythology. Empusa, or possibly Empusai, could be a class of beings, are said to serve Hecate, and also are sometimes recorded as one of Hecate's daughters, or even just Hecate in disguise. Funny how being a shape-shifting creature works out like that. In the earliest fiction, and I do say fiction because a lot of this appears to be from classical antiquity plays, but Empusa is described as a demonic phantom who can change forms, often animals or a beautiful woman. She is described as both having the lower half of a donkey and also having one of her legs being made of brass. That could also be written as copper. It's a slightly ambiguous translation. Most sources these days seem to say brass, though. In one comedy, for instance, a character says he sees Empusa transform into a bull, a mule, a beautiful woman, and a dog. In that order. Later antiquity seemed to pluralize Empusa as a class of beings, synchronizing them heavily with Lamia and Mormolekion, also known as Mormos. Basically, a wide variety of spooky pretty lady vampire ghosts. The Empusa is described as vampiric in nature, taking on the form of a beautiful woman to seduce young philosophy students and drink their blood, showing you that truly humans never change. Young nerds were always afraid that pretty women are out to drain them of their vital essence. The Life of Apollonius of Tyana claims that Apollonius met an Empusa while traveling from Persia to India, but chased it off by having his fellow travelers hurl insults at it. Big W for Apollonius for apparently telling someone that he harassed a beautiful woman, and that got in his bio. Cool. I'm so glad we made sure to record who the fuck you are, Apollonius. Also, Empusa is a genus of praying mantis. Not a singular species, but a genus. And so, all of that and more to say that Huyan is fused with an Empusa, leading to the gender flip in a few more circumstances, like her emotional volatility. Also explains some of her traits and stuff, we're going to get in there. I'm also assuming Empusa is why Zhuo is an assassin. Almost assuredly, they'd normally be a rider for sure. They have a special mount with, their special Empire horse. They have a unique cavalry formation. The two clubs is a little more berserkery, but yeah, no, literally should be a rider. But I guess assassins are a little underserved. And SSR Assassins for Halloween seems like a theme. Also, there's more that I know that I'm not telling you because it'll come up in the event story, so keep that in mind. But yes, you're going to get a story debut, so don't worry about that. So, moving on to those mechanics, as I just noted there, Zhuo is an SSR Assassin, leans more towards the HP than attack side. She is QQA Bubba, quick arts buster, with above average hits and average-ish NP gain. It's 0.53. Now, our NP is fairly straightforward. It's an AoE quick. It buffs quick for one turn first based on overcharge. It deals flat bonus damage to evil enemies. It has a 40% chance to stun. It is 8 hits, though, so very strong hit counts, but otherwise fairly simple and straightforward. First skill is the double color buff. That's right. It's a 2-color servant. It's 20-30% quick and buster for 3 turns, and 2 on-attack buffs also for 3 turns. If you hit with a quick, it does 20% star gen for 3. If you hit with a buster, it's 20% crit damage for 3 turns. Both activate first, so just before you hit with the card. So that can be useful because, obviously your quicks will be generating good star gen anyway, so this amps them up even more. And if you get a crit on the buster cards, you get even more damage. Nice. Second skill's pretty good. It's a 3 turns of Pierce Invul and a 20-30% attack up on self for 3 turns. It also increases her Star Absorb for 1 turn. Third skill is a 2 hits, 3 turns evade, 3 turns of 52 100% buff removal resist, thank you very much, and also a 20-30% battery. Very, very solid skills. Passives are just Presence, Concealment C, Riding B. Again, letting you know that normally this would be a rider, but we tinkered around to make an assassin. And a unique passive that gives 10% extra star absorb on Buster cards only. So, Huyan Zhuo seems like a unit that could have come out anywhere in the last, 4 years? 5 years? I'm not actually sure when Scotty came up, but anywhere in the dual Scotty era. She certainly got the reps for that. You got respectable buffs. I'll leave the part where I accidentally said butts in. Respectable hit counts. Should make double Scotty farming on Rider class nodes perfectly fine. And I think she does do some respectable additional tricks. I really like the duration of her non-steroid type buffs. 3 turns of Pierce, pretty good. Hard defense, that's 2 hits 3. But also isn't really doing anything you can't get on another servant. That said, SSR Assassins are kind of underserved, so getting one who's just remarkably normal and very functional in the AoE slot is perfectly fine. Assassins have a very weird history in this game. I will also say that in addition to, obviously, I think she is well enough tuned if you are going to try some sort of quick farming AoE spam. She works pretty good as a sweeper in Story Farts. Her NP can clear ads, but with her hard defenses and that piercing, you can actually, hold out against some bosses. You got that critical buff for long-term follow-up turns. So if you can actually get her Buster cards, you can use that after you've used an NP hit. Most story bosses have, break bars if they're supposed to be tough, so you can't guarantee an AoE kill. And I'm pretty sure the stun chance is really only useful if enemies stick around. It is only 40%, but it could be helpful. And that anti-evil could do some heavy lifting. There are a lot of enemies in stories and event stories that are evil. Team comps are probably going to be pretty simple. If you're going to use some kind of double Scotty wizardry, that works out. You can also use the summer flavor, though, because Zhuo is a red-green double unit. This also makes Osakawa Hime a potential supporter as well. As a budget option, caster, relatively new guy, Zhang Ju works as a budget option. And also, if you're trying to do in-class stuff, like get multiple AoE hitters. Actually, no, I think Wu Zetian is single target. I'm not going to look that up. I've just said that it could be either. But I feel like Wu Zetian is one of those units that I always think, yeah, she's AoE, but she's actually ST. Anyway, she does have, team-wide quick support buffs and would give you a second assassin to work with if you're doing that kind of stuff. CE-wise, you do have some flex. Both Skadoodles have a 50% battery. Zhuo herself can hit 30%. So you're not necessarily bound to a 50% starting NP CE. For CEs, I would probably suggest something which improves NP damage and quick damage, but you could also go for crit. If you've got a funny CE that you like, which does Buster and quick, that might be perfect here, depending on what exactly you're doing. And obviously, I didn't describe it in my notes, but we are entering the era of 90++ nodes and otherwise erratic high-level farming. You can probably do team comps with Zhuo that work where if you start with a 3 or 2 wide, you can do an NP and then turn that into crit stars to kill a wave that's just one enemy, so long as they are weak to an assassin. So do keep that sort of stuff in mind. Now for the other stuff, Zhuo is a bit needy for Ascensions and skills. You're going to need a lot of chains and dust no matter what, and Ascension will ask for a few Comet Shards. And skills, on the other hand, are going to demand 72 Twilight Blades per skill, and all at once. They're all in that higher level where it's 72 at once. That's going to be very rough if you're going to try and max out those skills right away. That said, despite the fact that I feel like, at least in the English-speaking community, Zhuo didn't generate as much buzz as you might expect from a limited SSR woman, she has a pretty steady source of banners. We're talking about Halloween Rebellion, that's obviously coming up. She's also getting a feature in Mystic Eye Symphony, and also one of the Winter Satellite campaigns. During winter, FGO in Japan usually throws out a couple of extra campaigns where they tour around Japan. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to get translated over here, but that should be something. So, genuinely, that satellite campaign was, early this year, 2024, so she may not have any more banners this year. If she does, it'll be later, but we'll see. Also, she is a limited SSR, so obviously should be in any upcoming Lucky Bag campaigns somewhere. But yeah, like I said, a perfectly functional, alright unit. Not crazy, but not, at least in my estimation, I've never been very great at this, but I don't think she's terabad. So, yeah, keep that in mind. But now that we've rebelled, that should be the video. Hope it found you well. And like I said at the front, I think the timing on this one, it's going to come out on time. But if there was any weird reads or anything in there on me, sorry. Like I said, I wrote this hours before Milton made landfall. I recorded it day after the storm hit. So, stuff's kind of out there. Also, I'm moving like a week earlier than originally planned, so got a lot of stuff going on, but hopefully this video got you out there. It got recorded in a timely fashion anyway. But as I said just now, that'll be the video for you. Go ahead and give this video a like on YouTube. Make sure you're subbed if you're not. We have a Discord where you can talk about FGO and lots of other things, and post your rolls and other fun stuff. Consider ringing the bell so you get videos when they are posted at like midnight during maintenance. It'd be real nice for me. You can also join our channel memberships for access to membership badges and emotes. I feel like I don't get as much action repping that one, but it is an option you can do. There's a little button that says join down there. And as I said before, consider supporting us on Patreon. Could have gotten this episode early. Could get lots of other stuff, because we record a podcast called Let's Talk FGO every week. Technically, if you're going to search for it, Let's Talk FGO should work, but it's Let's Talk Fate Grand Order. Anyway, we do that every week. Look forward to first impressions about Halloween, probably, and other stuff. Check us out. If you're not just interested in FGO, we talk about other stuff on the podcast. I don't know why I'm stretching out my vowels. I'm just doing it. Anyway, there's going to be a musical interlude, and then I'm going to thank some patrons. All right, see you. And this video was brought to you by all our patrons, thanked here, but especially Adam DeHarp, Blacklist OG, Call Me Zed, Carlos, Dragon, JDV9000, Justify, Kaiser, Starlight, Legendary Boss Hunter, Liam Kessler, Rise of Kenji, Rogue Robin, Charvor, some guy named Bob, and Veorin the Crow. Thank you very much for your support, everybody.